Hello and welcome to this edition of the Angels and Destiny Show. Why is this show called this, you may ask? So I'll tell you. The accepted meaning of angel is messenger and the accepted meaning of destiny is to make firm establish. So my guests and I bring you messages to establish what you need to know in the present. And of course, I like working with angels and the calmness they bring. Now, in a moment, I'll introduce you to my wonderful guest, Rhonda Reif. But before that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching the show live at a later date, as it really does mean a lot to us to connect with like-minded people. Now, if you've never met me before, then my name is Ray, and I'm a guide who helps you remember your divine presence so that you can heal your past, create your future, and transform your present, to expand your consciousness, understand your spiritual path, and take charge of your destiny so you can fulfill your purpose. I'm the founder of Radiant Angel Energy, and through divine presence and everything else I offer, I help you remember why you are here, your spiritual path, and the clarity on the next steps to take. Now, each episode of this show covers various themes of your journey, a mini guided meditation or angel oracle card reading with the wisdom of my wonderful guests, like today's guest, Rhonda Reif, about the 8-8 Lionsgate portal and its numerical, get my teeth fixed, message and how to use it for manifestation. Now, Rhonda is an author, speaker, consultant, and holistic health practitioner and an expert in the field of conscious communication. In conjunction with her speaking and consulting business, Life's Pathways, Rhonda also operates a private holistic health practice, the Stress Management Centre, and Holistic Horizons Institute of the Healing Arts. There are many ways that we receive and perceive information through communication, including non-verbal communication, symbols, numbers, and colours. And in order for us to consciously communicate, we must learn to integrate our body, mind, and spirit by bringing our subconscious awareness into focus. Then we can merge our subconscious thoughts with our conscious thoughts. All healing, whether it be relationships, health, or personal issues, begins with awareness between the mind and body connection. Now, over 30 years ago, Rhonda sustained a personal injury that led her towards the holistic path. Rhonda has found that there are profound overlaps between her business and communication experts and her holistic health expertise. God, I need to get my teeth fixed today. Everything in the universe can be explained in the terms of energetic frequencies and mathematical values that show us our life path. So without further delay, hello, Rhonda, and welcome to the Angels and Destiny Show. How are you today?
I'm just great. How are you, Ray? I'm excited to be doing this.
I know, again, it's brilliant.
Yes.
So before we get into this fascinating conversation, I want to remind you, not only can you share this video, but you can also say hello, ask questions, leave comments and thoughts, as both Rhonda and I want to be part of this conversation. So please don't be shy. So Rhonda, why don't you tell us a bit more about your journey for those that didn't catch the last show, and then about the Lionsgate portal meaning of 8 and the 8-8 and the 8-7 energy for this month of August that includes manifestation.
Well, just sort of a brief scenario because you gave me a really wonderful introduction. When I was a child, I had a near-death experience. And of course, that was over 50 years ago, and people just didn't talk about things like that. They still don't talk about it a lot today, but, you just kind of like swept it under the rug. But one of the things that happened is that I crossed to the other side and was told to come and feast from the table of wisdom and knowledge. And there was nothing on the table physically, but there was all of this vast information. It was just like everything in the universe. And it was supposed to be like a smorgasbord, but I just swooped it all up. And then they, of course, made me return to Earth, which made me very sad. It took me years before I realized that there was a connection between that and why the universe has put me into the holistic healing field, because I actually have 2 master's degrees, one in communication and one in business. And so, my friends all think I'm kind of a Fruit Loop because I do all this holistic woo-woo stuff. But now that I've made this connection between what I, learned during that near-death experience, that it's actually sort of in alignment with my life purpose. And so one of the things that I brought back that began to utilize immediately was numbers, like this understanding of numbers and how they communicate and how they give us messages. And they're sort of like messages, like a secret code. And numbers are the only universal language. People don't realize that. They'll say, oh, well, music's universal. Well, music is numbers. People don't realize that Pythagoras Pythagoras is the one who actually came up with the harmony of spheres and harmony and discovered the musical scale. And Pythagoras is behind actually this thing with the science of numbers, where every number has a frequency. Everything in the universe, on the planet, rocks, trees, people, businesses, addresses, zip codes, everything can be reduced to a numerical value, which then has a predictability of what the energy is going to be for that particular place, item, person, thing, whatever's going on. So once you understand the code of that, it just becomes like this whole sort of secret information that you have that you can, you don't have to keep a secret, but it's just this really wonderful tool that you can utilize to help you along, find your purpose, to make decisions, all of those kinds of things. And I don't consider myself a numerologist, although that's how most people understand it. They need to realize that Pythagoras existed about 2,000 years before numerology became actual thing. It was about 1800 and some years. So he discovered this mathematical thing, which used to be taught as one of the 5 basic things in life, math, astrology, and, not necessarily just astrology, but astronomy, algebra, all of those kinds of things music were one of those 5 things. And so you have to realize that he actually used this. And then, centuries later, people are like, hey, there's really something to this. And they sort of cherry pick the stuff in order to have it so that they could just use it sort of as a quick tool to do like a personality thing for fun. But I'm telling you, it goes way deeper than that. I mean, it is its own code. It's the code of the universe. And once you start utilizing it in your life, it's just amazing how it's helpful, but also helps things to flow easier. Or if something's
Oh, it looks like Rhonda's frozen on us for a second. She did say she was having some internet issues, so hopefully she'll come back in a minute. And that's so until she does, if you've got any questions about numbers, not numerology, about numbers, then please do put them in the comments and ask about them. Rhonda has looked at a couple of numbers for me, and it's really, really accurate about what happened with those numbers. So yeah, we'll just wait for her to come back in. So hopefully she'll get back in a minute. You can see my logo there. So she's just gone out. So yeah, please do ask any questions about numerology, or whilst we're waiting, if you've got any questions you want to ask me about anything. And I'll see what I can do whilst we're waiting for Rhonda to actually come back in to us in a moment. As you can see, you get to see my beautiful set behind me. So you actually get to see my besom in the background there, and obviously the lighting that I have here. So that's an interesting thing for you to actually be able to get to see. So yeah, so Rhonda is going to, when she comes back in, is going to tell us a bit more about numbers and obviously the Lionsgate portal, because obviously we're in a 7-year, we've just hit a 7-month, and obviously 8 is, I believe, a number of abundance, although don't quote me on that one. So the Lionsgate portal, which technically is 8, which makes 16, with 6 and 1 makes 7. So technically it is a 7. So that'll be, see, I'm working this out whilst we're waiting for Rhonda to come back. So whoever's watching, do you have here we go. It looks like Rhonda is trying to get back in. There we go. So hello again.
Sorry about that. I just ran troubleshooter and everything. It said I was connected to the internet, but I just logged out and re-signed back in. So hopefully we're not going to have any more glitches, but
who knows? They just listened to me rambling and I've just suddenly twigged 8 makes 16, which makes 7.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Anyway, let's get back to before we got into the Lionsgate thing about the numbers you were talking about and how they're so much more than just
Yeah, so they're more than just, it's more than just numerology with the way that I look at it. And there's nothing wrong with numerology other than some people seem to think that, they're put off by things that are from the occult. But I just want to tell you that I have had stockbroker clients. I've had, people that are real estate people. I've done workshops for real estate agents. I mean, it's all about the energy, and everything in the universe is energy. That's just one of the things that happens. So, you want to take a look at that. And again, this is where, numerology got its basis was, from Pythagoras' work. But think of it as a gazillion things on the timeline, and numerology is maybe like 20 of them. So, it's just, it goes way faster than that. And so there's a lot more ways to use it, because people think, oh, I know what my birth date is. I know what my life path number is. Well, that's helpful. But do you know what the energy frequency is for today? Or do you know what it's going to be, on your wedding day? Or what's the energy going to be of your house? Or what's the frequency of your website address? What are your credit cards add up to? What's your phone number? All of those things have an energy, and it projects it out into the universe. So once you learn that, and you learn also then things that you're going to be more in sync with, then that helps you as well to do things, So like, if you have a really difficult thing to talk about, that you want to give a speech or something, do it on a 3-day or a 3 o'clock, or something like that, because 3 is the number of communication. If you're somebody that wants to go over a meeting that's going to be absolutely down to the wire, that we have to get this nuts and bolts, and there's absolutely no room for, any kind of leeway, then you're going to want to do it in the 8 o'clock hour, because 8 is all about structure. But if it's something that you're trying to do for marketing and have a creative brainstorming thing, 8 o'clock is not going to work. Whether it's 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night, you're going to come up with same standardized kinds of ideas. You want to do that at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock or 3:30, or, for things like that too. So yeah, so there's just no limit, with things about how you can apply this, from leadership to actually just, okay, what day do I want to get married? What do I want the energy to be for that? So anyway, I love numbers.
So when you get a new telephone number, do you actually look at numbers and go, no, I don't want that number. I want another number?
Well, that's something too that, like, I've never had that option, because I haven't really had that. But yes, I mean, if there's something to do with that, that, that if there's something that comes up where I have a choice, yeah. But I will tell you that for a long time, I'm not anymore. The pandemic changed everybody's ideas of things. And so, but pre-pandemic, I was looking to buy a house at some place where it would be closer to the ocean. And I live in Iowa, in the middle of, the rural America. And I definitely started looking at these different sites and different houses and that. And the ones that were within the price range that I was looking for all had 8s in their address. And 8 is the lesson of money, which we're going to find out when we start talking about the numbers for August. But 8 is the lesson of money. And all of those houses had somehow been into a foreclosure, or there was some kind of a situation with that, which is why they ended up being cheaper. There was something with that. The 8 is sort of kind of like a money pit number when you come to housing. Now, it could be, if you're an investor, it could mean that you get in there and you make a lot of money and you flip it, because 8 is also like roller coaster. It can also mean that you can have a lot of money, but it means the money is not consistent. So you might have a lot and then you might not have any. And so I absolutely would never buy a house that has an 8 address or an 8 in the actual thing. And the people that I've worked with who, come to me, because I do feng shui stuff too. The thing is that they come to me, and we'll be looking, and I'll be like, well, look at the 8s in your address. Look at how the 8 of your street adds up to it. Or you're in an 8 county or an 8 state. Of course, there's going to be issues with that kind of thing. And, they'll be like, wow, and so it's consistent. This isn't just something that I've pulled out of the air. It's true with that. And just like a house with 6 bedrooms, but it has an address of a 1. Yeah, that's better to do individual roommates than it is to have a family, because the 1 is going to be, everybody's going to kind of do their own thing. They're not going to really, be in a partnership together, those kinds of things. And it's the same thing with asking prices, So I've had people, I've told them, change the price of something because you're attracting something different than what you want. So if you're somebody that's looking to sell out an MBA retreat, that's completely different if you're looking at business than if you're looking at someone who wants to come for, sound healing. It's going to attract a different kind of person. And the prices can either attract or repel. So, there's just no end to how this can be utilized with that kind of stuff.
Wow, it's just so fascinating, and it's sort of like going down to a deep rabbit hole dive, isn't it? It's
Yes,
sort of
yes,
like
yes.
you could be looking at everything that goes on.
Yeah,
Um,
because I've even talked about it. I have a book coming up that's still in the processing stage, but I even talk about how if you look at each musical note has a number, and then you look at the musical notes, then you look at a song and you look at what is, the song lyrics or whatever. You can look at each individual word on each individual note, and each one of those things could actually have some kind of a message. Like it's that deep. Now, I'm not saying that we all do that because I think intuitively we know when we hear something, it either resonates with us or it
yeah.
doesn't, and so, but I'm just saying that you can decipher it down that much. And then you're like, oh, that explains it. I mean, that explains why, there's a situation that happened or didn't happen, or I didn't get that job, or, because you can even add up the word lawyer as opposed to nurse, as opposed to bus driver, and see, is that going to be something that's going to be in harmony with me, or this particular nursing job. So, yeah, so there's just no limit. It's not just about getting your initial numbers done, although that's a good start. But, there's all kinds of things that you can take a look at.
Wow. Yeah, it's just and it's really interesting that you're talking about the number 8, because 8 does seem to have, I suppose because it is an 8, it does go up and down, but it kind of like seems to be more of a number that is manifestation, but isn't manifestation, makes money but loses money.
Yes. Yes. And we're going to talk about the 8, so I'll go ahead and talk about it now. 8
Mm,
looks like a dollar sign to the subconscious. So there's the key to that, so people can see the subconscious. So like if you see the 8 early in a number or in with that kind of thing, then it's going to resonate more about that. And if you see more than one 8, think about when you look at a restaurant thing and it'll have those little dollar signs to tell you, oh, this is affordable, or it's $4 signs, or whatever. So that's kind of a clue to the subconscious brain. So when it sees the 8, it sees that with well. Now, right now we're in a universal year 7. And so this is all about 7 is God's number. It's the most prevalent number on the planet in the Bible. It's about, the angel. It's sort of with angels, but it's sort of more like a higher thing of angels, not necessarily like your immediate guardian angels or the archangels. It's more dominions and virtues and those kinds of things. But it's from the heavenly realm is what the 7 is about. So whatever your religion is, that's where the 7 comes in. So 7 is all about just knowing that your needs are going to be met. It's about knowing that what you need is going to find you, or you're going to find it. It's sort of a synchronistic kind of number. So the 7, we're in a 7-year now. This is everybody on the planet is in a 7-year. So this whole year is about sort of taking a step back, reflection, doing things as sort of the number of sabbatical. So it's sort of about going inward, reflecting, like, what is it that you really want? Like, did you really think that you wanted that new office? Or was it just that you were looking for something else and you thought that a new office was going to provide that? So you have to take a look at really a lot of reflection. What is the root cause or my underlying motivating factor for why I want this particular new car or this new house or this new relationship or new job or new pots and pans. It doesn't have to be something really big. It could be a pot holder. So the 7 is about, looking for what, asking this kind of given kind of thing is, but it's also about patience. It's about sort of like putting it on that list and then letting it go, like letting to know that it's going to come to you. So the 7 is you don't work for what you get. You just believe that you're going to get it. The 8 says you have to work for what you get. So there's where the difference comes in. The 8 is about earning. The 7 is about receiving. Now, you both can earn and receive in both of them. And that doesn't mean that this whole year you should sit back on your laurels and just go, okay, well, I'm just going to wait for everything to fall into my lap, because it's not about that either. It's about sort of like knowing what you want and planning and putting the energy out there. So, but the 8 is about you have to have tenacious ability to keep keep doing and pursuing and following it, and follow up and lists and organization and all of those kinds of things. And so that's where this 8 comes in, because sometimes, and if you look at it, you put it on its side, it looks like a roller coaster. It also is a symbol for infinity. So it means that things just continue to go on, but it's also about that roller coaster ride where you're going to have highs and you're going to have lows, and then it's going to circle back around. So the 8 is always lessons of money, or maybe we could even say lessons of receiving, because, you know, it's more than just money, although the 8 really does reflect money because of that dollar sign to our normal society, conscious, subconscious, you know, symbol of how we read that. So the 8 then is today we're in the last day of July. So today is actually a 4 day. So the date is 747 because we're 31, which 3 plus 1 is 4. So it's interesting because, you know, 1 signifies sort of the creator, 3 signifies the ascended masters or people from the other side. And when you add those 2 together, it's a 4, which is also about angels. So there's a lot of dynamic going on today. Today's a very fortunate day. The entire month of July has been that way because we were in a 7 month in a 7 year. So every single day was a portal. Every day was a new opportunity to create, manifest, explore, expand, and also sort of like reflect and kind of get things in order, which we need because we're going to go into August. And August is, you know, think about it. It's a very expensive month for most people. Sometimes it's vacation. Sometimes it's paying for the vacation they took in July. It's going back to school, supplies and clothes, and maybe relocation and all those kinds of things. So the 8 is always, you know, August is always one of those months because of money, but it's also because it's the 8th month. Now, the lion portal is 8/8, and it happens every year, and it's a very powerful time of year. And if you think about it, like in feng shui, a lot of times they'll have like, you know, sometimes they'll have the 2 figures of the sort of lion looking things outside to do that. And they're not lions, but they sort of look like lions. And then you look at the lion's gate, well, Leo the lion. Okay. And so that's why it's there. So the lion is the 8 and the 8. So there's these 2 things here waiting for you to come into that pathway in order for you to manifest. So it's a really, really strong energy day to manifest. We have also taken about 2 weeks to slide into that, and then it'll be 2 weeks going out of it. But the strongest day is going to be 8/8. And so 8 and 8, like you said, adds up to a 16, which is a 7. And we're in a universal year 7. So there's the 7 again so the 7 energy is going to help us. We just need to sort of put that list out to the universe of what it is that we need. And again, this isn't just about manifesting a new swimming pool in your backyard. It could be health. It could be wellness. It could be happiness. It could be, you know, just understanding where I need to find the right person to mow my lawn. It could be all of those kinds of things that you could just sort of do that. But the 8 is saying, get organized from the peanut gallery. It's a different one. She doesn't usually bark. So, but anyway, so the 8 is all about that. Now on 8/8, because it's a 8 plus 8 plus 7 adds up to, actually, it is a 5. Because 8 and 8 is 16 plus 7 is, well, anyway, it comes out to a 5. I did it before the show. So the 5 is all about risk and change and variety and change and travel and freedom and courage and all of that. So this particular Lionsgate is different than the energy of last year's Lionsgate because it's a different year number. So we're going to look at it. What does that mean? It means that we can manifest. It's strong. We're going to have that sort of like asking it'll be given kind of thing to show up. And then it's also going to be a day about that change. So look for changes to happen. It's the year to manifest things about change or about freedom, or, you know, where should I move to, or where should I, you know, what's my next thing that I have to do? It could be a day about manifesting for travel. So it's all about those kinds of things, but it's also a day about risk. So that's a day that, you know, that's the day to take risks, sort of step outside your comfort zone and that kind of thing. But it might not be the best day to invest because of the lessons of the 8 and it's a 5 risky day. But it could also mean that you could come away clean with a lot of money in the stock market because it's an 8/8 Lions Portal day with a high risk. So there's just a lot of things that, you know, you can take a look at with that. So that tells that, you know, that has a lot to do with that too. So anyway.
Yeah, so I suppose really with it, I suppose
Jada.
also what, you know, working with that, you know, if you're taking these financial risks or stuff, again, I suppose it would be depending on what your life path number is, what numbers you've got in your life.
Yes.
Would
Yes, that's true. Yes. I'm
yeah.
sorry about the dog.
That's okay. Obviously wants to join in with the show.
Um, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yes. So your life path number or your numbers or that kind of thing would add up to it too. So if you're somebody that has a 5 in your chart or a 5 life lesson, it's going to be a more powerful day for you than say somebody who doesn't have those two things. You know, they're not going to feel as strongly motivated to actually look into that. But just know that the 8-8 happens every single year, but it's going to change energetically wise. But it's actually a very strong day for you to set your intentions. You know, if there's some kind of little ritual that you want to do where you write the list and burn it, you know, or whatever it is that you want to do, you know, bury it or speak it out loud or that kind of thing, you know, that those are things that are going to help too. I like to have it where you use all 3 communication styles or teaching styles, learning styles, you know, where you hear it, you actually speak it, write it, and then sort of when you write it, you're reading it and watching yourself write it. So it's a kinesthetic thing as well. So you have auditory, you have visual, and you have kinesthetic. And I feel like that then sort of cements it into your whole energy field or your being or that kind of thing with that too. So there's just a lot of things going on with that. And then for the month of August, once we get out of that 8-8 portal. So don't be thinking negative things first. Don't be thinking negative things like, oh my gosh, this is never going to work, or I'm never going to get a new car, or I'm never going to have that. You want to make sure that you're keeping your thoughts highly positive because it's a super highly energy day. So then the month of August, conflict in yourself, because it's an 8-month in a 7 year. So the 7 in you is going to be like, you know what? I'm going to book that vacation because I just really think that it's going to be great for me. And the 8 in you is going to pop in and go, oh my God, you have all these bills. You don't know what's going to happen with the economy. You're not sure what's going to happen at the grocery store. You know, how can you do that? You just got your credit card paid off. Like whatever the thing is, the 8 is going to be that sort of rational, anal retentive kind of energy, where the 7 is going to be sort of like, you know what, like my needs are going to be met. So you're going to have this sort of internal conflict. And one of them is going to be like, you must work in order to get this done that you want to do. You have to focus. And the 7 is going to be like, you know, it's a 7 energy. And I don't necessarily have to focus right at this minute. It's all about balance. And you're going to need to do both because it's the 8 energy of the month. It's telling you if you do the 8, the 7 energy will flow. Right. So if you do the work, the energy is going to flow. But, you know, this is going to be a month where you might have unexpected expenses that you didn't realize, or you might have unexpected windfall that you didn't know that was going to happen. You know, whether it's overtime at your job or increasing clients or the lottery or, you know, whatever, like it could be a gazillion things. So there's, you know, a lot going on with that. And then it also, like you were talking about your life path, the life path number is your actual birth date. So then you look at what's your personal year for that as well. So, you know, and you get that by adding your birth date and your birth month to the 7 for this year, if you've had your birthday already this year. So like what is, you want me to do yours? What is your birth date?
Yeah, my birthday is the 1st of September.
Okay. So right now you are now in a 7 year until your birth date, September 1st. So okay. You should have had lots of really positive things happen or flow or sort of like, you know, things with the heavenly thing with that 7 vibration happen now this year with, you know, helping it flow with the angels. And so it's been a really powerful year for you with angelic things and those kinds of things that come from sort of that heavenly realm up until your birthday. And then on that, you're going to switch into it because the year doesn't change until your actual birth date for the year.
Right.
Then you're going to be in a year 8. So look for, you know, getting things in a row now so that you have things that are prepared to set up. So like whatever it is that you're doing now could help the money flow then for the whole next year. So I don't like to scare people that an 8 year is bad. An 8 year is necessary to begin cleaning things out, sorting things, completing things, and just sort of setting the intention with all the things happening in the 7 year to sort of reap the harvest in the year 8. So just know that now you've got a month to sort of practice with it being the 8 energy.
Yeah, okay. So I better get all those programs and everything all set up, ready to go.
Yes, do that.
That's really interesting because my life path is 8 as well.
I'm sorry, what?
My life path is 8.
Yes. Oh, yeah, because interesting. So you're sort of so next year will be a really powerful year for you. It'll be a year with all of those eights and things going on because it's your life path. So expect to be life lessons though. You're going to have life lessons. It's not going to just be, I mean, it could be gifts. Lessons are gifts too, but just know that you're going to be learning things with that eight, with the money, with structure, with organization, with detail. And it could even be something as much as, saying, okay, I need a personal assistant. It doesn't mean that you have to do all of the work. It's about you organizing things and getting all the ducks in a row and just overseeing that kind of thing. So, and I will tell you that the eights are the organizers with that too. And again, I know we've done your chart, but it's more than just your life path number, although that's what you aspire to be. So you probably aspire to be extremely organized and detailed and all of that. And then you're a Virgo on top of it, correct? Like,
I am, yes.
yeah, oh my gosh. So you are like so strict in your head. You are like, oh my gosh, I have to get this done. I have to do this. You give yourself no rest, no peace, no leeway in order to make a mistake or do things. So
Yeah, I'm learning not to do that. I'm
yes.
learning to sort of like take a step back and try and get out of my, kind of, okay, no, I don't need everything to be perfect all the time.
Yes. Yes. So that's kind of your lesson with that eight energy going on with there. So know that then, there'll be lessons for you to learn that kind of stuff too, then coming up after your birthday. But for right now, just manifest the bejeebers out of everything and get it to where it's going in that too. So you're probably really comfortable with the Lionsgate day, the 8-8 energy thing too, because you've got those eights in your chart. And again, this is how it will affect everybody differently, because somebody who is in, let's say, a one life path personal year is going to have a different relationship with these numbers that are happening in a 7 universal year than somebody who's in a 6 life path year. Again, it will be the same sort of, because it's kind of like a generic horoscope that everybody's in a 7 and this is what happens with Virgos. But then when you start looking specifically at where are those numbers in your chart and what are the numbers that are going on and those kinds of things. And so just know that each day in the month of August, there's not going to be as many portals as there was in July, because every day in July was an energetic portal. But for instance, like 8-8 is 1, 8-17 will be 1 because it is 1 plus 7 is an 8. 8-7 would be 1 because of 8-7-7 universal year. So just kind of look at those. So there'll be several of those during the month of August if they add up to an 8 or a 7. So then that'll be a high frequency thing. And so when you see things that are like the 8-8-7 together, that just tells me that, that there's going to be some kind of an abundance with assistance from the universe or from a higher realm with that, as long as you put the work in. And if it's the 8-7-7, you're looking at that, then there's going to be sort of maybe not as much work and more belief, but you're still going to have to put the work in to do that. So,
God, this is so fascinating. If anyone's got any questions, please do write them in comments. I mean, Laura has said, this is really interesting, and it is because you don't really think of numbers like that. I mean, before I actually really spoke to you, I dabbled in a bit of numerology in that, but to me, numbers was always maths at school, which I didn't get on with at all. And you do kind of like think, oh, it's just numbers, but then you start getting into how the universe works and, sort of like binary code numbers and stuff like that. And then the whole thing just sort of like you realize how important numbers are in the world.
yes. Yes. And, if you look at even like different countries and, what their numbers add up to be, I even like to look at, like, for me, because I'm in the United States, I even like to look and see what particular year that a state was ratified or a city was ratified. I like to look at like, for instance, what year maybe a church was built or ratified, brought into the thing with that. And not even just that. And during the pandemic, one of the things I realized, because I've dabbled in numbers forever, but it wasn't until the pandemic when you were looking for things like what could you do online. And I was so generously offered to be a guest on a podcast, which I have my own radio show. So if people are interested in that, they can go to that. It's now called a podcast, but it's, been a radio show for 30 years. I've had it. So, but I'd never been on a video podcast thing before. So that was kind of a new experience. And then that sort of opened these doors with people, wanting to know more information, because in a small town, people, they think it's too woo-woo, in the rural Midwest. So there's a whole bunch of people out there now that I've connected with that's just really exciting. But yeah, so, I looked at, because during the pandemic, all the restaurants were closed. So you were having things delivered. And, before, like I said, I'm in a small town. It's like, you go down to the corner and you turn by the blue house. You don't pay attention to street addresses or numbers or anything like that. And so I started noticing that all of the restaurants that I frequent are like these master number addresses, 3311, 1313, or they're the repeating numbers, like an angel number or something like that. Like, I never have anything like 457 Oak. It's like, it's always like, it's just amazing. So, and it may not even be about the quality of the food. Now I've realized, like I'm drawn to that particular address. Like there's something about the environment, because that you can have a really great food experience, but a really bad service experience, and it will just negate the great food. Whereas you could have a really bad food experience, but have really great service and customer service and a wait staff and just feel that your needs were met, and it's okay. And so there's that energy, that energy with that too. So one of the things, if you're listening to this, that I invite you to do is start looking at those synchronicities. Like, what are those messages that you're drawn to or attracted to? And I think you're going to find that there's definitely a pattern there. And that's kind of what I help people do too, is we look for those patterns. What are those lessons that you have to do with that? And again, somebody who's done this since I was a child, I've done this for over 50 years with the numbers, that for me to have that sort of epiphany, that is like, wow, like all these restaurants are 3311 or 2244, or, it's like 1444, that was a whole new level too for me, as well as, even somebody who understands it and sort of eats, sleeps, and lives the numbers. Like I like to schedule things for certain times of the day or certain days of the week, or, that kind of thing too. Now, I don't go around saying, oh, we have to meet at 3:00 because I think I'll communicate better, because people don't buy that, it's just, but it does have a lot to do with what the energy is with that too. Now, I do tell my clients that I like to schedule healings for certain times because of the numbers, because they're open to it. They call me for an energy healing, or, to do something with that too. So I do tell them that, like, if there's a certain time that they want to schedule or a certain date, I'll say, I think this date and time might be better, because they're going to be open to it. But, you sort of have to learn discernment with that too. But again, stockbrokers asking me to do things. I used to be on retainer for, a firm. So there's, things like that that people don't realize is going on, that the numbers really do communicate with you. So I'm sorry. Now that's my sister's dog that's in the kitchen.
Oh, that's fine. So with numbers then, what just crossed my mind whilst we were doing that, because I think more in America than it is in the UK, it's kind of like streets are and corners, like corner of 54th Street or something. So were sort of like the streets, if you think back to Freemasons and things, and see, this is where my mind's going now. Freemasons and things like that, because obviously there's sort of like, it is a theory that Freemasons were behind the sort of like, because obviously George Washington, etc., where things were set up. So sort of like street corners and the way that things have been set up in America, do you kind of like think that was kind of like based on numbers and patterns and things like that?
Yes, that's the short answer. Whether it was from the conscious mind thought or not, could have been from the subconscious, or even through a universal communication that they didn't realize they were receiving. But yes, absolutely. Because especially, the Freemasons have a lot to do with the 33, and 33 is that highest vibration on the planet. I don't know everything about the Freemasons, because there's a lot of secrecy, involved with it. But from what I have read, is that numbers are really important with them. And I do know that there's a lot of past presidents who've had that sort of thing. It's really interesting, because I've done all the presidents' names and stuff, and There's some of them that I don't have a complete information for, and that'll be in my book coming up, is all the different presidents and things. But there's some of them I don't have the information for complete. So there's about 3 or 4 of them I was not able to say with certainty whether or not they do have a master number in their chart. But people don't realize that the majority of astronauts and presidents are all firstborn or only born children. It same holds true with them, at least the presidents, having master numbers in their chart. So there's only 3 that actually have, the 3 that don't have the master numbers of the ones I had all of their information for. Interesting enough, they all happen to have a 3-5 vibration in their thing. They all 3 happen to be from Texas. So that's a little interesting thing too. And, and they all were involved in wars that we never put an end to. So it was Lyndon Baines Johnson, it was George W. Bush, and George Bush, the first George Bush.
Yeah.
So since then, I have been able to sort of finagle and find out that there is sort of a hidden number in George W. Bush's chart, but I just thought it was really interesting. And so 3 is the number of communication and 5 is the number of risk. But when you add those 2 together, 3 plus 5 is 8. And there was a lot of expensive things that happened during the times of those 3 presidencies. And again, I'm not getting political here. LBJ was a Democrat. So this isn't about Democrat or Republican. It's just about looking at what's going on. I do all of the president's candidates' numbers before I even decide whether I'm going to go meet them. I'm in Iowa.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm in Iowa. And so we are very fortunate, for people that are international that don't know this, that all the candidates come to Iowa. We're the first one to do a caucus. So we can get down and have these like hometown meetings in the little cafe where people come through. And I've actually even met Hillary Clinton and done numbers for her. So, I mean, that's how personal that you can get when she was running for president. So the only one that I was never able to even get close to was Barack Obama. And I think that's because he was already a U.S. Senator at the time. But same thing, was able to go up and shake hands with Donald Trump, with George Bush Sr., with Ronald Reagan, like Bill Clinton. Like there's all of these people that come to Iowa because we are the starting gate. So I do all of and I try to go to both because, one day that one of them is going to be president. But I look and do at their numbers. What are their numbers going to tell me? Because that's going to tell me about a person's integrity. It's going to tell me about their life goals. It's going to tell me about their life purpose and their life path. And, that information is readily available on the internet to look up what their birth date is and what their given name was at birth. And so, I don't feel like I'm violating any kind of, privacy thing with that. But it really gives you inside information in order to make a deeper understanding of what are these candidates going to be. Because as you know, whether they're running for parliament or they're prince or king or queen, or even, running for the U.S. Congress, they're going to say what the public wants to hear. They're not going to give you that sort of, that naked truth kind of thing. And that's kind of what the numbers tell me with that too. And it's pretty interesting, and it's pretty accurate with that too. So there's another way I use the numbers to make a decision or to get information too. So
you need to get that book finished.
I do need to get the book finished. If there's anybody out there listening that can help me format it, it's written. I just can't figure out how to get it formatted. So that's, I've even actually had people read it and correct it and do all of that kind of stuff, so that's where I'm stuck. So, yeah. So I'm sending the energy out now internationally. If somebody wants to help me through the internet to do that, we could, maybe work out a deal or something. But yeah, definitely. It's been a work in progress for a long time, and it changed emphasis during the pandemic after I started doing readings, because it went from a book about, numbers to now what is it that people want to know? Because when you do readings for people, you start hearing these same questions over and over again. Like, well, what would be a good state for me? Or who would be a good life partner for me numerically? Those kinds of things too. So, so there's a lot to that too. So yes, I do need to get that finished. So.
Yeah, you definitely do, because we need to do it so we can actually start looking a lot more at numbers that are going on in our life to get some idea of where we're going and what we're doing. And afterwards, I'm going to pick your brains about the next candidates.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
going to be really interesting. So, as you know, I do angel oracle card readings and guided meditations. So each week, I like to ask my guests what they would like me to do. So, Rhonda, what would you like me to do for you and those watching?
As far as what, pull a card, you mean, or what?
Pull a card or do a mini guided meditation. What would you like me to do?
Uh,
This is for you and those watching.
okay. Let's pull a card. Let's see what the card has to say.
Funny enough, I've got the cards right in front of me. Amazing that. So, as always, when I do the cards, it's what you need to know for your highest good at this moment in time. So, even though I work with the past, we go into the past to heal and learn from it so that it doesn't affect us in the present. And when we go into the future, it's so we learn and understand about the future so that when we come back to the present, we're not worried about it. We can stay in the present. So, what does Rhonda and everyone who's watching this live or the replay need to know for their highest good at this moment in time? What does Rhonda and everyone who's watching this live or the replay need to know for their highest good at this moment in time? So, let's see. So we have got transformation, a fresh new way of living emerges. How perfect is that? So for Rhonda and everyone watching, transformation is taking place now, and there is a new way of living that's emerging, a new way of doing things. So it's kind of like taking what you've known and actually just releasing it and allowing yourself to move forward and flow with it, which I think really ties in with the theme that's going on with the sevens and the eights.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So so it's amazing about that, and obviously that's good news for you as well, Rhonda, because it does sound like your book may just now get finally out there, which will be absolutely brilliant.
I'm old school, so I write everything by hand, and I'm so old that they didn't have personal computers when I went to college. And then every job that I had before I became a holistic healer, I always had a support staff. I had an assistant who did all of the typing or clerical work with that. And as you know, we talked about how I had that nerve damage in my arm. And
Mm.
so I typing is not something that I'm supposed to be doing because of the repetitive motion and that kind of thing with the arm. So it's very tedious for me to do that. And I've had these programs and things like that where you can actually talk into the thing and stuff, and I've used those. But when it comes to doing these charts, like for me, like with the president's names, and then to like show like the number spacing and things like that, you can't do that with Dragon Speaks or something like that. And I don't have that's one of the things I don't have. I don't have the technical computer skills. Now, it might sound perfectly easy to somebody out there who understands, all of the software and Word, but I'm isolated. I've been self-employed doing, healing work for 30 years and never had a need to do that. And when I was in college, I paid to have all of my stuff typed, so if you ask me to go into a Word document and change the margins, I could tell you what that particular numerical value of that margin is going to be, but don't ask me to change the margins because I won't know how to do it. So, and it's frustrating because, something that would, have somebody that could do it in 5 minutes would take me hours to do it. And that's where it gets to that point where, you just, you look at, what's the time, ratio benefit with that too. But yeah, so that's the section that I'm sort of stuck on, is the list of, like, here's what these names mean, here's what these places mean, that kind of stuff too. So yeah, so
Yeah.
that's one of the things. But anyway, yeah, so it's interesting that that's the phoenix rising from the ashes,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
basically. And for people that are from the US, Phoenix has been a hot with all of these, this global warming thing and everything that's going on. The temperatures have been, oh my gosh, in the hundreds for days and days and days and days. So it's also, sort of, to me, that's explaining how, like, if you look, that the earth is actually going through this transformation, not just
She is.
us. It's that sort of like when the phoenix is rising from the ashes, you think about this heat and all of those things are happening with that too, where the planet is sort of the planet is sort of like healing itself. I think that that's what's happening. And I think we saw that during the pandemic when things got shut down and the waters cleared up and the pollution, cleared up in the sky and all of that kind of stuff too. So yeah, I think that that's, this is a year 7 where it's about getting back into with nature and the God thing. So that card was absolutely perfect. Did you put it away already? Did it have a number on it?
No, it doesn't have a number on it, but I can look
Okay.
at what page it is in the book if you want.
Okay, yeah, I always like to look at that too as a
Yeah.
sort of a second thing. And that's the other thing too, like if you I'll read things in a book and then I'll look at the page number and then that helps me to remember, what it is, but also on that particular page, it has a message for you as well if you're reading something.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, it goes from 105 to 106.
okay. So you want me to tell what the numbers and stuff mean with that? So,
Yeah. So we've
okay.
got 6 and 7, haven't we?
Yes, we do. 6 and 7. So there's the thing again with that community. 6 is the number of community and service. And there's the 7 energy again about this transformation of this 7 year that we are transforming of how we receive things or how we perceive things and just allowing things to happen. It's a year of miracles. So expect the miracles. But when you look at that page number, it's a 1, it's about a new beginning. So that's a new way now. So everybody out there now that's watching this, that has these card decks or has these things is going to now want to go, oh, I got to look at the page number. I got to look at the card number. What's the card number? So the 1 is sort of about new information and a new beginning with that. The 0 means that there's protection. So there's a lot of protection going along around that, and sort of what comes around goes around. So it's kind of a karmic thing too. And then the 5 deals with change, which is the transformation. And the 6 then deals about service. So the numbers not only mean that there's a community with this sort of 7 vibration going on, it means that the transformation is happening at the community level. It's a new transformation at the community level with a spiritual premises with a lot of protection around it and guidance. And all that just from the page number. So, and yes, that's how my mind really does work.
but that is really beautiful because that is a brilliant message for sort of like everyone, for who is alive on earth at this moment.
Yes.
That the transformation is a good thing.
Yes, it is. It is. People are going to have resistance because it's change. But when they stop and set, like with me with the pandemic, when you actually stop and reflect, and again, I'm not talking about all the illness and the people who died and all of that kind of stuff, but there were some things that came out of it that I think helped to make it not as horrible as it could have been, as far as people started learning more about themselves and they learned how dependent we were on certain industries and certain people. And, it brought a lesson to people, how hard the people in the medical field work and, all of those kinds of things that there was other things that were going on and how hard your servers work and that kind of thing too. So I think that that's, something with that too. So.
Yeah, beautiful. So if there's no other questions that anyone wants to ask us, you've all been very quiet today. Rhonda, do you have any insights or thoughts to leave our viewers? Any last minute words of wisdom?
That definitely sit today even and start looking at what you're going to sort of create during this 8/8 portal. Don't limit yourself. I had something happen today. Years ago, I used to ask myself every day when I got up, please provide me with the information I need to know today. And that could have been just that I was going to meet the right person to, go to a party with, or a person to actually do a business deal with. But it could have even just been for me to find out information about somebody 3 states over that needed help. So today I had something very profound happen that was one of those particular things where this information just fell in my lap. And I haven't had something like that happen since, probably 40 years ago, honestly. And that profound, that big for that kind of information to find its way to me, that it shouldn't have gotten there. So don't limit yourself. Don't just think that, okay, I'm going to do this and I want to have, a new car or new tires, just say, I need the transportation issue. Like, don't limit yourself and ask for those. What are those messages? What are those synchronicities? Because right now, and through the Lionsgate thing, that's where synchronicities are going to be. Follow that, and it's going to follow you to what the universe could provide, which is going to be way greater than what we really even thought.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. So I hope everyone, you've enjoyed this conversation and found it insightful, because I know I definitely have, and I think Laura did as well. So Rhonda, if people want to connect with you, how do they do that? What's the best way of them finding you?
Okay, the best way to find me is actually go to rhondareif.com, and that's RHONDAREIF.com. That's my website. On there, you can link to my LinkedIn page, my Facebook page. You can send me a link to Facebook and send me a thing through Messenger. There's also my email is on there. You can fill out a thing to be signed up for my newsletter or to just ask me a particular question. You can also find my phone number there, but I will tell you that that's probably the last easiest way to get me, is that I respond much better to text or Facebook Messenger, or actually even an email than phone. So you can reach me all through there. You can send me a friend request on Facebook or whatever, because I have a couple of different pages there. I have a personal page and a professional page. So, but definitely, rhondareif.com, it explains a little bit about my workshops and some about my readings, and that, and it doesn't get into a lot of my healing stuff. That's on my stress management page, but you can definitely link to everything through there, and I can direct you with that too. So
perfect. And what I'll do is I'll put the link in the comments, so people just need to click on it and they can go straight there without having to think about it. So thank you very much, Rhonda, for sharing your wisdom with us today. It's been absolutely fascinating. And again, it's one of those things where I'm going to start going off, and I think those that have been watching this are going to start off and start looking at numbers in a completely different way. And of course, if you are now ready to remember your divine presence and step onto your spiritual multidimensional path, but you feel lost, stuck, or alone, then please feel free to connect with me, and we can see where you are now and how you can move forward to take charge of your destiny, so that you can spread your wings and soar to fulfill your life purpose in this lifetime. And of course, please feel free to join my weekly newsletter and receive a free future life progression reading or recording to discover your destiny by seeing into your future, to get guidance and clarity that you can use in your current life, as well as a couple of other free gifts. And thank you so much for watching. And I'd like to invite you to share this video, as I'm sure there are more people who feel lost and want to clear on their destiny just like you, and get to understand numbers a lot more. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, then please feel free to subscribe and hit that bell button to be notified when the show goes live, or I post new guided meditations. As each like, comment, subscription on YouTube really, really does help, boost me further up the algorithm. Oh, excuse me. Oh dear. Up the algorithm, which means this show gets out to more people. So as my voice is going to go, I look forward to you all joining me same time, same place next week. Take care. Bye.